In this week's podcast, you'll learn some words that didn't exist a few years ago, but are becoming more popular as time goes by. English never stands still. It absorbs new technology, trends, and cultural shifts at an incredible speed. We have a selection to share with you today so that you can stay ahead of the curve. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with nearly 60 years of teaching between us, we're going to help you improve your English and take it up to the next level.
Happy birthday to us.
Yay,
happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to Craig and Reza. Happy birthday to us. 600 episodes, mate.
Yes, it's our birthday. 600 episodes. 600 episodes of the podcast. That's a lot.
It is, and still going strong, I would say. How are you?
I don't feel like I'm 600 years old, but I feel 600 episodes older. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same, but still very keen to keep podcasting. I really enjoy getting together with you and recording this podcast. Today's topic is words that have recently been added to English. Now we're getting towards the end of the year. We're recording this nearly in December 2025. That's when you'll be listening to it. And presumably at the beginning of next year, they will introduce more words into the dictionary, right?
Yeah. How many words do you think you learn every year? How many new words in English?
I'd say I learn in my native language, English, probably 15 or 20 new words a year on average. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say the same for me. Although more are created, yeah, but not everybody comes across every new word, right? You come across some new words depending on your interests, yeah, what you read, what you listen to, etc.
Yep, and that should encourage you, listeners, because you never really stop learning. We are native speakers of English and we still learn new words. Reza, what is italki and how can this platform help our listeners?
italki is a platform which helps learners of language get in touch with teachers. So basically, they offer the possibility of finding private lessons tailored to each student's individual needs. There's a really wide variety of teachers. For example, you've got people with a range of native accents. They could be Irish, Australian, English, Scottish, whatever. They got people with different specialities, different types of qualifications, and prices, of course, to suit every budget. For example, you're thinking of preparing an exam, Cambridge, IELTS, they got people for that. You're specializing in business English, that's covered. English for specific purposes, engineering, science, whatever. Anything you can imagine, italki have got teachers for all the imaginable topics you can possibly think of.
And I have used italki. I really enjoyed my Spanish lessons with my Argentinian teacher. She was absolutely wonderful. And a more recent feature that italki have added to their platform is the possibility of having an artificial intelligence summary of your lesson delivered to you. So if you would like to find out more, simply follow the link in the show notes at inglespodcast.com. And you can sign up for free and book your first class. But don't forget to use the promotional code INGLES12, that's INGLES12, INGLES12, when you pay for your first lesson, and you'll get a €5 discount on your first class of at least €10. For more information, go to the show notes, inglespodcast.com, and we'd like to thank italki for sponsoring Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Can we just, let's call it, put in a little disclaimer?
What's that?
A disclaimer is when you say something to protect yourself in case something unfortunate or something that you don't want to happen happens. I'd like to apologize in advance for the fact that some of these words, which we're calling new words, probably will have disappeared if you're listening to this episode a few years after we've recorded it.
Well, some, but not too many.
Not
too many.
But some of this is the thing. New words come and go. Most of them stick around forever, but some new words don't stick around. That's one of the pitfalls, one of the disadvantages of using new words. Maybe they sounded groovy at one time, but not anymore.
That's a good example of a word that's not very common these days.
Exactly.
But groovy was very common in the 60s, in the 1960s.
It was the word of the 60s and 70s.
Hey, groovy, man.
Nobody uses it anymore. So it can happen. Be careful about some words which come and go.
And I have the feeling that the first word on the list is a word that may disappear in time because, to be honest, I had not heard of this word, although we did do our research and it is a very popular common word these days, and it's Riz.
I'd heard it.
You've heard it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
R-I-Z-Z. What does it mean?
It's charisma or charm, especially in a romantic context. For example, he's got mad riz. Everyone's into him.
So I could say, for example, that Reza's got mad riz.
It would be a lie, but you could say it, yeah. And all the girls fancy me because of my riz, my charisma or charm. It would be a lie, but I'd love it if you said it.
Maybe because of his Rizla, which is a cigarette paper for rolling cigarettes. Mad riz, Reza. You've got riz, man.
Well, I've got Rez in my name, but not much riz.
Our next expression is a beige flag. Beige is a colour. It's similar in some languages. Beige, it's kind of an off-white colour. And you may have heard of a red flag, which represents danger, and it's also something you should be aware of. But what's a beige flag, Reza? It's not as bad as a red flag, is it?
No, I mean, think about it. Red is a very noticeable colour. Beige isn't. So a beige flag is a moderately odd, that means unusual trait, characteristic in someone it's not a deal breaker, but it's worth noting. By the way, a deal breaker is something which breaks the deal. So something which ruins everything. There can be no deal because of this. So it's not a deal breaker, but it's odd. It's not ideal. For example, her beige flag is that she narrates everything she does. Well, it's not that normal, but it's not the end of the world. There are worse things that people could have, and they would be red flags. That's a beige flag.
I can think of another example. If you are in a job interview and you're constantly looking at your phone and ignoring the interviewer, that would be a red flag for the interviewer. Perhaps you would not get the job. However, if you went out on a first date with someone, on a romantic encounter in a restaurant, and you noticed that the other person was looking down a lot at their mobile phone, you might think that's a beige flag. You might think, well, maybe it's a family emergency, but you might feel a bit uncomfortable that the person is looking at their phone too much and not engaged in the conversation, right?
Right. Although it depends, as you say, why. If they were doom scrolling on their phone, that's our next word, then I'd be really worried. How do you understand the term doom scrolling? What does that mean to you?
Guilty. I'm guilty of this, doom scrolling. It's when you are mindlessly looking at your phone, especially social media. So, for example, you're scrolling down your TikTok feed or your Instagram feed, and you're not really stopping to consume anything in particular. You just keep scrolling. Your finger moves down constantly, and you're not really paying much attention to what you're reading or listening to. That's doom scrolling. Do you do that?
From time to time, but not often. I try to check myself. I try to realize when I'm doing it and stop myself doing it.
By the way, you can see all of these words in the show notes. Go to inglespodcast.com/600 for our 600th episode, and you'll see a list of all of this vocabulary with definitions. Our next word, shrinkflation. I'm sure you've heard of inflation, when it's more expensive to buy something that was cheaper a few months ago. And shrink means to get smaller. So if you have something that's made of wool, for example, and you put it in the washing machine and you use very hot water, it will probably be smaller when you remove it from the washing machine because it has shrunk. So shrinkflation, that's when the product size gets smaller, but the price doesn't. You're paying the same amount of money for a smaller product. And I've noticed this with soap. I used to buy this particular brand of soap. The price stayed the same. The soap got smaller. That's an example of shrinkflation.
A related term is skimpflation. S-K-I-M-P. To skimp on something means not to do it as well as you could. You don't use the maximum quality. So it's not like shrinking. It's not getting smaller. It's about reducing the product quality while keeping the same price. So the product's still called the same. It's the same name, the same packaging, perhaps, the same size, but he's not quite as good. For example, the sort of thing that I often really do say to Craig, or he says to me, would be something like this. Is it my imagination, Craig? Or did these chocolate biscuits not used to have far more chocolate on them?
We spoke about this last week, didn't we?
We did.
The amount of chocolate on a plain chocolate McVitie's digestive biscuit. Also, going back to shrinkflation, have you noticed that the Mars bars and the other chocolate bars are a lot smaller now than when we were younger?
They're definitely smaller.
Or was it because we were smaller? I mean, they seem
who
bigger.
knows? But there's definitely been skimpflation. They've definitely reduced the quality, that's for sure. There's not as much cacao in there as there used to be.
Absolutely not. The next one on the list is brain rot. I'm sure you know what your brain is. It's inside your head. You use it to think. And rot is when something deteriorates or gets worse over time. For example, if you have wood in your house and for some reason it gets damp and it gets affected by insects, then it rots. The condition slowly gets worse. Also, food. If you leave fish or meat out of the fridge, then eventually it will rot and maggots will start to eat it. So what's brain rot, Reza?
So that's mental deterioration, or some people call it dumbing down. To be dumb is to be stupid. So if you dumb down, you make something more stupid than it used to be. And some people say that it's caused by overconsumption of trivial or low quality online content. Yeah, if you're bombarded, if all you ever get is really basic, silly, simple, oversimplified content, maybe that will make your brain rot. Maybe that will dumb you down.
So doom scrolling might give you brain rot.
Exactly.
The next word confuses me, Reza. Flexitarian. Flexible. So it's from the word flexible. And you know what vegetarian means, probably. Someone who only eats vegetables and fruit and does not eat meat. Well, a flexitarian sometimes eats meat. A flexitarian is someone who mostly eats vegetables, but occasionally consumes meat, presumably only when they feel like it. So if you say, I'm a flexitarian, I have chicken once a week, I'm not really sure what that actually means. What are you then?
Yeah, but there are quite a few people that I know who do that, particularly when it comes to fish. I know quite a lot of people who don't eat meat, but from time to time they eat fish.
But they're a pescatarian.
You could say they're a pescatarian, that's true.
There's a name for that.
Yeah.
Flexitarian confuses me. I mean, do we need a word for it? Why can't you just say, I eat meat sometimes?
I guess just to save time, you could just to do it in one word.
Let's go to the other extreme with the next word, bingeable or binge-worthy. And when speaking about food, if you binge food, then it's the opposite to eating it occasionally. You eat too much of it in one go at one time. And you can do a similar thing with content, can't you, Reza? For example, TV series.
Yes, in fact, it gets applied to almost anything these days, but it's very typical to use it to talk about consuming large amounts of media, particularly TV series. If something's easy to watch for hours and hours and hours, you can just watch one episode after another. And before you know it, you spent 6 hours and you've watched 6 episodes. Then that series is bingeable. Yeah, so you can binge on it easy. It's bingeable, or you can also say binge-worthy. If something's worthy, that means the result for the effort is a good deal. So it's binge-worthy. It was worth spending 6 hours of your life watching it. It was bingeable or binge-worthy.
Do you remember the last TV series you binge-watched?
It was quite a while ago, but I think it was maybe Ozark.
That was a while ago. You told me
Yeah.
about that maybe a couple of years ago.
Did you watch Ozark?
On your recommendation, I really enjoyed it. And I binge-watched it.
Me too.
It's very binge-worthy.
Very, yeah.
Very, very recommended. Let's take a quick break here because I know you listen to this podcast to take your English to the next level. But what about your speaking? Is your fluency improving? Are you happy with your speaking skills? My conversation course focuses on making you a more confident and more fluent English speaker. You'll join me and a small group of motivated students, and we'll meet on Zoom and have topical discussions, role plays, debates, and presentations that will expand your vocabulary and help you express yourself effectively in English. So be proactive and take the first step towards becoming a confident and fluent English speaker. Send me an email today to craig@inglespodcast.com and I'll send you details of the next online conversation course. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Craig, the next one here, I'm not quite sure I've got it 100%. I'm 80% clear. Maybe you could clarify for me adulting.
Yeah, it sounds strange, doesn't it? Adulting, being an adult would be more logical to me. But if you are adulting, that means that you are behaving like a responsible adult. In other words, being an adult. So if you're paying your bills on time, you're paying your rent as you should, you're doing your laundry, cleaning your clothes, cooking, then you could say, well, it's just another day of adulting. So another new word, it's in the dictionary, you can check it, adulting, being an adult, or basically being a responsible person.
I have a theory why this word exists now and didn't in the past, because we just didn't need it in the past. So words tend to appear because you need them. Occasionally words appear that you don't really need, but usually because you need them. Because now, how can I put this delicately and hope that I'm not offending anybody listening?
I'm sure you'll offend someone out there.
There are some adults these days who are very definitely adults. They're 30, 35, 40 years old perhaps, but they don't seem to have a very adult life. They live with their parents. The mom and dad cooks most of the meals, washes their clothes. That's a much, much more common phenomenon now than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. And maybe that's why this word adulting has been invented, to be able to describe people who used to or have been used to not doing very much, even though they're 35 years old. And then, suddenly I've got a job and my parents want me to leave the house and I'm going to have to pay bills. Oh no, adulting, as if it were a weird thing to do.
How does this washing machine work? I've never seen one before.
Do you think that could be it? Partly because of how society has changed?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that makes a lot of sense. A word that has been around for quite a long time now is recycling. We have learned to recycle our glass, our plastic, etc. Although there is a newer word which is upcycling, upcycling, which is kind of similar, but instead of throwing something away to get it recycled, you use it to create something of higher or better value. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have an old pair of jeans, denim, you have holes in your jeans, and you think, well, I probably should throw these jeans away. Well, maybe not. Maybe you can get a bag or make a bag from your old jeans. So you take the jeans and you make a bag from your jeans. So you've made another product from something that's old and no longer useful.
Yes, that's a much newer word than recycling, isn't it? Upcycling is newer, for sure.
Yeah, and my wife does this with plastic containers. For example, she'll go to the supermarket, buy some grapes. Usually these days, grapes come in a plastic tray, and she'll use the plastic tray for pens or pencils or something in the house. So she's upcycled packaging that otherwise she would just throw away.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you can downcycle as well. And that's not a new practice, but it's a new word. People have been downcycling since time has begun. Let me give you an example. This very morning, I used a towel, which I've had for quite a few years, and it ripped. But I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to cut it up into sections and use it as cloths to clean things. So that's downcycling. Whenever you're using something for another use of a lower value, not a higher value. So you can upcycle or you can downcycle. So I'm going to downcycle my towel and cut it into 5 bits and have cloths for cleaning the kitchen now. That's downcycling.
Yep, good point. Upcycling and downcycling. Our next word or expression on the list is Nepo baby. What's a Nepo? I know what a baby is. Reza, what's a Nepo baby?
So Nepo comes from the word nepotism. So nepotism is giving jobs or favors or generally helping in some way someone from your family or close to you or related to you in some way. So there's absolutely nothing new about nepotism. That truly for sure has existed since humankind has existed, but the expression is a new one. A Nepo baby is someone who benefits from nepotism, especially a child. So that's why Nepo baby, the word baby, a child born into a famous or influential family. They're a Nepo baby. They know, or everybody knows from the second they're born that their life is going to be easy and fantastic. They're a Nepo baby.
So would you call the former Prince Andrew a Nepo baby? I think now he's called Andrew Windsor.
Yes, I guess all royalty are in a way.
Nepo babies.
Yeah, they are. But we don't tend to use it so much for royalty because that's kind of, it's expected there, but it's tend to be used for more just for very, very rich people, but not necessarily aristocrats.
Our next word is phubbing. Phubbing. Sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? Maybe sounds a bit sexual, but actually it's not. If you are phubbing, then you are ignoring someone because you're using your phone or your device. So you're looking down at your phone, you're not paying attention to the person you're speaking to, you're ignoring them, you're phubbing. He kept phubbing me during dinner. It was very rude. Definitely a beige flag.
Yes, and it could be as a result of doom scrolling, as we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Some of these are connected, aren't they? What's ghosting?
So everybody knows what a ghost is. I'm guessing a ghost, a phantom, a spirit, some living thing which isn't a person. It's from the other world, a dead spirit that somehow lives. But that's nothing to do with this use of the word ghosting with ing. It means suddenly cutting off, stopping communication without explanation. You disappear as if you were a ghost. It's as if you've died, but you haven't died. You still have a presence, like a ghost. For example, I thought we were close, but then she just ghosted me. So she stopped communication, but she hasn't died. That is ghosting in the modern world.
I use this word. I don't know if it makes me sound too trendy or too young, but I might say, I had this student who wanted to do the conversation course with me and suddenly she ghosted me. Would you use it, that word?
I haven't used it much myself, but I've certainly heard it, yeah.
Next, we have an acronym. It's FOMO. And FOMO, FOMO stands for the fear of missing out. Something I used to experience about, let's say, 15, 20 years ago when I was a bit younger. Saturday night, Friday night, my friends would be out in a pub, having a good time, enjoying themselves, drinking probably, and I would have FOMO. I would think, oh, what are they talking about? What's happening? I wish I was with them. So you can say that you went to a party just because of FOMO, because you didn't want to miss out on something. You didn't want to not be there and see what was happening.
And I guess going back yet again to technology and internet, I guess the existence of social media has really increased FOMO because it's so easy to see what you're missing out on. In the past, you didn't really know. Before there was internet and stuff like that years ago, there may have been things happening, but you didn't really know about it. Now you know about it. You know you're missing it. And that's probably added to FOMO. Having said that, as a kind of reaction to FOMO, they've invented JOMO.
That's more what I have these days.
Ah, right. So 15 years ago you had FOMO and now you've JOMO. So what is it you feel now?
Now I feel the joy of missing out. JOMO, the joy, the happiness of not being there, being out with my friends and knowing what's happening outside in a bar, for example. So I'm very, very content. I'm very happy to skip events sometimes, which means to miss events, to not go. I could say, for example, I stayed in on Saturday night, I read a book, and I felt pure JOMO. Is it your case too?
Yes. Yeah, I think I feel...
Are you more JOMO than FOMO these days?
Inevitable, isn't it? The older you get, the more JOMO you feel and the less FOMO.
Now, I bet you get hangry from time to time.
Yeah, I do get that. So this word I find funny. In fact, any English teacher who has ever spent any time in Spain will find this word funny because many Spanish speakers for years have been saying this word in English, hangry, because they're trying to say either hungry or angry, we're not quite sure, and they mix them up. Well, good news for those students. Now the word actually exists.
With a different meaning.
Yes, well, it is kind of a mixture of the two. So before, when a Spanish person wanted to say to me, oh, he has really irritated me, I feel angry, they said, he has irritated me, I feel hungry. I didn't know if he needed food or he was frustrated. Now you can combine the two. So the word hangry, Hangry, now exists, and it is a mixture of angry, irritated, and hungry. You want food, and it means that you are irritable due to hunger. For example, don't talk to me until I eat. I'm hangry. Like I'm angry because I haven't eaten. So good news for all those Spanish students. Now your word that you've been misusing for years finally does exist.
And let's be clear with those vowel sounds. If you are angry, if you're frustrated or something has really bothered and annoyed you, that first vowel sound is a. The same sound as you find in cat and hat and sat. Angry. So if you're listening, say that with me. Angry. Hungry, the in hungry is the same as in words like up or under. So it's the sound. Hungry. So we've got hungry and hangry. No, we haven't. We've got hungry and angry. Put them together, you get hangry.
Now, Craig, you came up with the next word. I'm not so familiar with this. I've only heard it once or twice. The modern use of the word clutch, C-L-U-T-C-H. What's the new modern use of this word that you've heard?
Well, let's look at the old meaning first, because some listeners might not know. You have two meanings as far as I know with the word clutch. First of all, it's something that you have in a car that is a manual car, which means you need to change the gears. And you press the clutch, it's a foot pedal, and when you press the clutch, then you disengage the engine and you can change gear. So that is a clutch. That's the noun. And to clutch is to hold something very tightly. So if you clutch your bag, you're holding it very, very tightly.
In fact, you can even have a clutch bag.
A clutch bag, yeah. My mum had a clutch bag. That's a bag with no strap or handle.
You just have to clutch it. You hold it in your hand.
You hold it. However, the modern use of that word means that something has been done very, very well in a crucial situation. Imagine, for example, there's a basketball game or a football game, and it's equal, it's a tie, it's maybe in basketball 70-70 or in football 1-1, and right at the last minute, a player scores a basket or a goal and pushes the team into victory, then that would be clutch, a clutch play. So it's something that's very good, it's excellent, it's effective. And I heard this expression on a very, very popular YouTube channel that's speaking about technology. And the guy, quite a young guy, he said, oh, this new phone has a really cool feature, which is clutch, and it's blah, blah, blah. So he's using that to say it's an excellent feature. It pushes this phone over the edge. It makes it very, very special. It's something that's very effective. It's clutch.
Our next expression is another expression which I would identify with a certain age group, and that's the word sick, S-I-C-K.
Not well?
It originally meant that, and it still does. If you're sick, you're ill, you don't feel well. But there's a newer meaning of sick, which is extremely cool or impressive or awesome. Particularly in American English, you might say awesome.
Awesome.
So awesome, something's awesome. It's really, really good. But of course, sick, we just said, means not well. That's not good, is it? So ironically, this new meaning of the word sick means really, really good. So it's nothing to do with feeling bad. It's quite the opposite. Better if I give you an example. That new electric bike is sick. I want one. Well, bikes can't have diseases. They can't feel ill, as you know. So it just means that new bike is really cool. It's sick, man. I want one.
Have you heard this word?
I have. I've heard it lots of times.
Me too.
But I'm not going to use it.
Why?
Because I think I'll sound foolish if I do. My advice is, if you're over 40, don't use it. You will sound foolish. You will sound like you're trying too hard to be cool. And my advice is, leave it for the younger ones, that word. All the rest you can use, but that one I'm not sure about. What do you think? Am I being a bit over the top?
I like to use new words. Maybe I sound silly. I know what you mean, although I think if I get the opportunity and it's in the right context, then I might try to use some of these words, maybe not all of them. I don't think I'd use Riz, for example, but I like the word sick. I like the way back in the day, years ago, we had words like cool, hip, wicked. Do you remember wicked?
Yeah,
wicked used to be very, very
cool.
Negative, a wicked person, and suddenly it meant fantastic. And we used it as fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that new TV's that's wicked, man.
Yeah.
That's wicked. That's really good. So in a similar way, younger people are using sick as we, back in the day, used wicked. But now it's your turn to practice your English. What do you think of this podcast? Is it sick, or did it make you sick?
Or are we sick in the head?
We would like to know. Please send us your voice messages. You can do that by going to speakpipe.com. That's speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. Emails, Reza?
If you prefer to write, you could write to Craig. He's at craig@inglespodcast.com. Or you could write to me. I'm at belfastreza@gmail.com.
And if you're a Spanish speaker and you want to improve your English with free and paid resources, why not visit the Mansion Ingles website at mansioningles.com. And for paid products, you can browse the online store at store.mansioningles.net.
We'd like to say a big thank you, as always, to all our Patreon supporters. The Patreon program is a program in which you can sponsor us, you can give us a donation, and as a way of saying thank you, you get instant access to the audio transcriptions of this podcast, and as an added bonus, a live Zoom chat so that you can practice your speaking. If you're interested, have a look at the link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/Ingles podcast.
Unfortunately, we don't have time to mention all of our wonderful Patreon supporters, but we will say hello and thank you to our most recent supporters who have joined us this month. And they are A. Reina, Romeo da Costa, Yolanda, and Vanessa Martinez. Now, we don't want you to have FOMO next week and miss the next episode. So what are we discussing next week, Reza?
Next week, we'll be talking about imperial and metric weights and measures.
So please don't ghost us next week. We promise we won't give you brain rot and hope you'll join us next week for another episode. Until then, have a lovely week ahead. It's goodbye from Reza.
And it's bye-bye from Craig.
The music in this podcast is by Hits, and the track is called See You Later.